Hey everybody, and welcome to Eden Fractal. We're here at our 88th meeting. I'm here with Eric and Joe, and Rosemary was just with us, so I think she had an internet issue. Eric was sharing some interesting stuff with nonprofits and all sorts of exciting work he's doing, and it's good to see Joe again, and here comes Rosemary back. I'm going to give a little presentation about the topics on the agenda and what is going on with Eden Fractal. As always, feel free if anyone wants to say hello or wave or share anything before we get started, but otherwise, I'll get right into the presentation. And welcome back, Rosmari. Welcome and thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Hope that you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoy the show. All right, so welcome for the 10th time I've probably said now. Welcome to Eden Fractal. You can learn more at edenfractal.com. It's a community that creates innovative games, shows, and tools. We've been making episodes and playing with games and building tools for almost 2 years now. This is our 80th meeting. We have a vision that we believe that all communities and organizations should have the tools and methods to make the best possible decision making fair, fast, and fun. And we host weekly events to optimize decision making with these consensus games that we're building. So everyone's welcome to join our events every Monday at 16 UTC to network with talented collaborators or network with talented innovators and help create the future of coordination. And like I said, we produce videos each week that you can watch and you can learn about the tools that we built too. There's some great developers in the community, and we're doing really great things to help everybody cooperate better, all organizations and communities. We put out posts every week on X, and also Rosemary's been posting on Farcaster lately, which is a really neat decentralized social media platform. So encourage you to join, encourage you to retweet and share with your friends and so forth. She mentioned here that we're planning to discuss collaboration with Optimism Fractal. So you can go and check out more. We also have some videos where we've collaborated with Optimism and the Optimism Collective previously in a playlist, which I'll go over in a little bit. And she provided some links here where you can learn more about Optimism Fractal, optimismfractal.com. And I also put a bit more details here too. And this is also from the Optimistics account too on Twitter. So like I said, encourage you to share, encourage you to check it out, encourage you to invite your friends every Wednesday at 16 UTC. Everyone's welcome to join, and it's a great opportunity for many reasons. We also, as I said, publish the videos, which you can see at edenfractal.com/videos, also on the Eden Creators YouTube channel as well, where we publish them all. And we just published our 83rd video, which is called The Mission Game, and it's talking about how we will achieve our bold vision. So in this meeting, we collaborate with talented innovators once again, and we play a new kind of consensus game, a mission game, to develop Eden Fractal's mission statement. We've been talking a lot about our next steps after determining our vision, and you can watch all the other videos where we determined our vision and all sorts of other stuff for the past many months now on here, as well as on the YouTube channel, like I said before. And on the YouTube channel, you can also see videos from Optimism Fractal, because we also host Optimism Fractal events too, and several other great shows too. And then one other note too is that we mean to post videos sooner. And Rosmari just posted all the videos, even though they're not fully produced yet. She just posted all the videos that are fully edited, so you can watch them in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat. So we're going to be producing and sharing all of them as soon as possible. But from now on, we're going to try to share the video from each event in the Eden Fractal Telegram group, even if it's not fully produced yet, right away within the next few days of the meeting, so that everybody can watch and keep up to date. And then we'll follow up with the fully produced episodes soon after. Each week at Eden Fractal, we play a game that we call Cajendas. It's a social coordination game where we vote with respect points that we earn in respect games. And so basically we propose topics to play for the game. And so that's what we do each week. And everybody's welcome to propose topics if there's anything you'd like to discuss. And over the past several months now, like I said, we've been talking about our vision. And then after we settled on our vision, we've been talking mostly about our strategy and our mission. First, really our mission, and then our strategy more recently. And we have a Notion community page where we've been discussing these things and playing games and writing all our notes about what we think the mission and strategy should be and so forth, that you can explore, that everyone's welcome to join as well if you join the Telegram group. And so, yeah, like I said, we settled on the vision and it's really cool. And we have lots of videos about that. And we have this page where you can see the mission. We have 4 missions from me, Eric, Rosemarie, and to Das that have been working on refining, and they have some really interesting points. A lot of them are about collaborating with communities. Interested to hear, Joe, your thoughts as well. I know Joe contributed to the mission statements earlier as well. And then over the past few weeks, we've been talking strategy as far as like what are the customers or the products or the go-to-market strategy, all sorts of different things that could be helpful for building our strategy. So these are some discussions that we've been having lately, that might that are really helpful and really exciting. But for today's meeting, for the Cajendas game, I figured I'd make a topic about collaborating with Optimism Fractal and basically asking what are the best ways for Eden Fractal to collaborate with communities, and also what's happening with Optimism Fractal, because we talked about Optimism a lot like 4 months ago, and we haven't really provided an update. And I figure that this is a good way to maybe take a little bit of a break and zoom out from, or maybe zoom in from the discussions about the strategy and the mission, and talk specifically about a community that's operating with fractals and with consensus games right now, and see how we can collaborate, while this can also help us establish our strategy and so forth going forward, because we're talking about who we collaborate with and so forth. So I put out this message on both Consortium, where people can upvote the topic, and also on the Telegram post, and I went into a bit more detail about this. If anybody's not familiar, Optimism Fractal has weekly events on Mondays at 17 UTC that everybody's welcome to join, and it features respect games where players share their work and rank each other's contributions to optimism. And it's doing quite well since starting in October. It provides a great way to get involved with opportunities in the Ethereum ecosystem. And you can learn more about Optimism at optimismfractal.com, and the Optimism Collective, which is really exciting, at optimism.io. And we also have a playlist where we discuss optimism, probably like 6 or 7 Eden Fractal meetings last year, and we made several short clips too. So you can learn more about it in there in the Telegram group and by checking out those websites. And then, like we've done in previous weeks, if we want, then we could play a respect game at the end to rank each other's contributions discussion if we want, or we could just have kind of open discussion and we could see where it goes. But kind of just want to bring this topic up and see what everybody thinks. If you're not familiar with Optimism, once again, recommend checking out optimism.io. It's working with Ethereum and it's scaling up the future of the internet. So doing really exciting stuff. There's also the Optimism Collective, which is working to reward public goods and build a sustainable future for Ethereum and the future of the internet. So you can learn more about that there. And then, like I said, we published lots of exciting videos about optimism and Optimism Fractal and the optimistic vision that you can watch on the Eden Creators YouTube channel, including this video where back at the 66 Eden Fractal meeting, we discussed optimism and kind of introduced it and went through, had a 10-minute video kind of giving the highlights about optimism and why it can be helpful to collaborate with and so forth. This was before we started Optimism Fractal. And then there's a playlist where you can learn much more and see all the videos. But since then, Optimism Fractal has started, and there's now a website live at optimismfractal.com. It's a community dedicated to fostering collaboration and awarding public goods creators on optimism. And everybody's welcome to join to meet optimists and earn respect in the respect game, and promote your work and grow optimism, and also use the tools that are now built on EVM and the superchain with the OP Fractal stack. So we made a lot of progress so far, and like I said, these are every Monday at 17 UTC. Everyone's welcome to join. There's been a bunch of people who have joined. It's been more active than Eden Fractal lately, and people have been really rallying around it in the optimism community, which has been super exciting. And we've been publishing all the videos from the events on optimismfractal.com/media, as well as the Optimistic site and on the Eden Creator site too. So you can see the videos here of all the events so far. We've published 11 so far, but we've had 16 meetings, and we're working on publishing the videos from the rest of them. So we have all sorts of great events that are going on. We hosted a game called retroPGF 2, and of course you can check out and watch the full video for each one to see all the participants and all the great builders in the Ethereum ecosystem, and then there's timestamps for each and so forth. So yeah, the events are going really well, and it's quite exciting. So encourage you to learn more and check it out. And then also, another thing I want to mention here too is I mentioned Optimistics a couple times. Optimistics is a team that I created with Rosmari and Vlad and Vlad and Tadas being 2 awesome developers. And this is the team that launched Optimism Fractal. And when we first launched Optimism Fractal, we figured it was good to have a team that was focused on optimism, but also separate from Optimism Fractal as well, so it could help support it. So we have a website, optimistics.io, which I think everybody here is pretty familiar with, but just as a high level overview for anybody who might be watching for the first time, Optimistics are a team that's working to grow communities with these fractal tools, game shows, and events. And you can learn much more. We have a blog that we post all sorts of helpful stuff on, as well as links to the events. And there's also videos that we publish there as well. And there's a page where you can learn much more about the tools that we're building and so forth. So all sorts of cool stuff going on in Optimism and with the Optimistics. And another thing I wanted to announce too, because we haven't really formally announced it, but we've been planning to, is that Optimistics did succeed in earning some funding from retroPGF. So one of the reasons why we became interested in collaborating with Optimism, among many others, among their dedication to awarding public goods or rewarding public goods and building a great future in the internet, having awesome vibes and community, is that Optimism is running, I believe, the largest public goods funding experiment in the world. It's called retroPGF, which is short for retroactive public goods funding. Basically, the idea is that you do things that are helpful for optimism and things that are helpful for people in general, and then afterwards there's badge holders in the collective or people in the collective who care a lot about the collective success and funding public goods, and then they vote on projects that do helpful work. And then if project receives enough votes, and depending on the votes about how much funding people think they should deserve, then projects receive funding. So in this round of retroPGF, it was the third round of retroPGF. The Optimism Collective gave out 30 million OP, which at the current price, the OP token price went up a lot. So it's currently worth like $3.80, something like that. So it's over $100 million of funding that the Optimism Collective gave out this time. And they're planning on doing this every 3 to 6 months. So there was, I think, 400 projects that got rewarded. And fortunately, Optimistics was one. So first off, I'd just like to thank all the badge holders and people in the Optimism Collective who supported the work. And I'm really excited as an opportunity to grow fractals with retroPGF as well. So people can learn more about this at optimism.io. And there's also a blog post on optimism.mirror.xyz, as well as many other great blog posts where they go into detail about who earned funding and how they earned funding and so forth, the recipients and how much they earned, and all these different things. There's lots of information here. You can see our picture for Optimistics somewhere in here. So I want to just give a little update about that and say thank you. And then you can also see the retroPGF application that Optimistics created here. And then the amount that Optimistics too, we haven't shared this publicly yet, really, but it's all public on the site. Optimistics received just about 30K OP, which is over $100,000 in funding at the current price. Who knows how it will be, but just want to give a little update about that. And so that kind of is a lot of things we're focusing on, and we think that it might be a pretty big opportunity for the future, especially as we grow to help more fractal communities and more people building fractals to grow with optimism and so forth. So wanted to put that out there and let everybody know. And once again, thank everybody and happy to answer any questions about it. And then just kind of bridge conversation to how we can both collaborate with Optimism Fractal as well as the Optimism Collective, as well as all fractals in general, because like we talked about in our strategy and mission discussions, we want to collaborate with communities that are building, that are working to make better decisions, basically. There's lots of communities. We have a page on optimism.io/communities where we talk about all these different communities: Optimism Fractal, Eden Fractal, Genesis Fractal, Alien Worlds Fractal, Aquadac, Roy Fractal. Joe recently founded, or fairly recently, a few months ago, found an Upland Fractal, and we have some information about each of these. So there's all sorts of people who are interested already in making better decisions with these consensus games and fractal processes. And then I know Eric's been working with nonprofits, and lots of people are interested in this. And we really want to do is figure out how we can best collaborate and serve these different communities as Eden Fractal. So I think that was a good discussion to have. Optimism has a really great governance forum where people are discussing all sorts of stuff about improving their governance. So that could be a way to reach out to the Optimism community, as well as at Optimism Fractal events, which everybody is welcome to join. And we say at Optimism Fractal too, another quick update is that we started up a Notion page that's a lot more organized than the Eden Fractal Notion page, where people can see a bunch of projects that we're building as the with Optimism Fractal community for developing the EVM software and all sorts of different stuff like that. All these are pretty comprehensive. People can check it, and feel free to let me know if you have any things that you want to contribute or get involved in, anything like that. But this may be a way that we can contribute with the Optimism Fractal community as well that I could just throw out here too. But yeah, basically that's that. I wanted to give a little update about where we're at with Optimism, since it's been about 4 months since we gave a little update. And then also maybe parlay that into a discussion about how we can collaborate with communities and organizations as Optimism Fractal to achieve our vision of helping all communities and organizations make the best decisions possible with better tools and methods and so forth. So curious to hear everybody's thoughts about that. And like I said, if we want to play a game at the end, we can, or if we want to just have kind of an open discussion about both Optimism and Fractal and how we can collaborate with Optimism and Fractal, I'd love to discuss that, about how we can bring these communities closer together, because they've been in a little bit of like a silo where we've been trying to promote them to each other, but it's also been kind of busy trying to promote them and bring the communities together. So we'd love to foster more collaboration with Optimism and Optimism Fractal, and then also all fractals we can start on Optimism. And then I know there's also really great fractals and interesting experiments going on in Antelope as well. And the Sync team is still working on fractals as well. And so there's lots of great software coming in, lots of great initiatives going on. And curious to hear everybody's thoughts about both Optimism Fractal, Optimism, and how Eden Fractal can best serve communities and organizations, collaborate with people, and help everybody make the best decisions possible. That was a pretty long presentation, so my apologies for going long. Hopefully I didn't bore you. Hopefully it was interesting, but maybe I'll be quiet now, and curious to hear everybody's thoughts. if you want, we can play a game where we each take like some time to share what we think. That might be cool. It'd be cool to hear from everybody, hear what they think. So we could go around and take like 4 minutes each to share what we think, or if anybody wants to just kind of lead the discussion, we can have a more informal discussion. Then I'm happy to go either way and happy to hear
Well,
anybody's suggestions.
we're basically working on mission. So if you want to take a use case and apply what we would do for that and write that down as our mission. I mean, if we're saying here's the way we would help them and write that physically, actually write that down, that'd be the same as taking those 4 mission statements and combining them, because I think that's where we are, is taking what we've already written and coming up with 1 mission statement instead of 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm happy to jump back into like a kind of mission game or just kind of drill into the mission. And it might also be helpful for Joe if we go over the mission in more detail and everybody watching, because we kind of haven't, we kind of took a little bit of a detour of the strategy from the mission. And my thinking there was that it's helpful to think of the strategy, to think about the mission and to decide on the mission. And then as we were discussing for the mission, like who are the consumers, who are our target segments or our target markets and so forth. We were kind of discussing, well, I know Tadas had mentioned last week that it'd be good to focus on people building in the blockchain space, like builders, because then they can help develop the software more. And I know you had also mentioned too, like maybe we don't want to focus so much on blockchain communities because there's such a bigger world out there with nonprofits and businesses that you're working with as well. So that was kind of my thinking here, that one, it was kind of helpful just to bring an update about optimism since it's been a while. And then two, that it just might be instructive for the mission and the strategy to think about a specific community. But I'm also
Well,
happy to go back into the mission too.
I just was saying that when we talk about, it's more like, well, why is blockchain important? It's that capability more than it is blockchain itself. Just because technology changes all the time. Now, that doesn't mean specifically we can put that in our content. We can talk about blockchain and how cool it is, but in the mission statement, I don't know if I would make blockchain required as much as what it is that blockchain is supposed to do for us. But if we want to, we could be, this is all about blockchain, but with the nonprofits, I don't think we're there yet. I think if you're going to talk about helping people with blockchain, you have to have easy blockchain tools. And I think we're getting there. I just don't think it's there yet.
Right. Good points. Thanks for
And so
sharing.
you've taken a group of people and said, let's do this thing. You don't know how hard that is. It's really hard to get any organization to change anything. So the more difficult you make it for an organization to change, the much less effective or successful your transformation will be. The easier it is, the way more successful it is, because people don't like to change their habits. Individuals, just think of how many people go, oh, I want to start getting healthy. I want to start working out. Just think how hard that is for one individual. Now take a group and say, oh, we want you all to change. The momentum for a group is, no, let's not change. An object at rest tends to remain unless you push on it hard. And that's kind of how most organizations are. Most change is not effective. Most people who try and change an organization are not effective. The change doesn't last because it's hard to change anybody, even if it's a simple change. Okay, I'll give you an example. We all want to use the consortium voting, and nobody does. A couple people. Is it that hard to do? No. Do people do it? No. So there you go. So imagine saying, oh, we're going to go on this. Let's go. It's just really hard. So whatever you do has to be easy. And so that's my concern about blockchain is I'm a huge fan of blockchain. So I can see that becoming big. And like, our, I Value Global, the company that's doing is is building these digital transformation, customizable digital transformation roadmaps, templates. And you know, we already imagine putting AI and all that stuff in there, but we know that if you're going to transform, do digital transformation, you've got to change the culture, or it's not going to work. And not all at once. Series of habit changes.
Very good points, Eric. Thank you for sharing.
I'll give one more thing. It's kind of like
Okay.
saying, hey, we're going to get into shape. So I'm going to buy a bunch of food. I'm going to buy new outfits. I'm getting a gym membership and I'm transforming my life. Some people can do that. Almost nobody can, though. Within 2 weeks, they won't be doing it. Certainly within a month, they won't be doing it anymore because it's too much of a habit change. So what you can do is say, I'm going to go to a gym once a week, and you can reinforce that. And then you can say, okay, now that that's part of your habit, now you can do that. But few people can do that change. So whatever we think when we're helping organization, we have to make the change clear, compelling, and easy. Here's what we want to do for you. You get that it's important, and we're going to make it as easy as possible.
Well, I agree with, I think, most of the things you said there. And I'm curious, I want to welcome Vlad too. Eric started talking about Consortium, and here comes in Vlad, the creator and founder of Consortium. And I do also want to back up a little bit because people do use Consortium. I agree, we want people to use it way more, and there is a fairly low amount of people who use it consistently. I use it, most people here don't use it. Joe used it a lot in the Upland Fractal, from what I understand.
Yeah, but we've had big groups.
Mm-hmm.
We've had big groups, and take the percentage in that group that used it. What is it? 1%, maybe 2%. It isn't even 10% of people in that group used it. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a great thing. It's not, this isn't about whether something is good or not. It's about changing people's habit is hard, even if it's good, even if it's in their best interest.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. We want to make it as simple as possible for people to change, and you make great points that it is difficult to make changes, even simple changes. I'd be interested to hear from Joe, because I remember that Joe, I think, was the largest user of Consortium at some point. Joe's community, they were using a lot with Upland. And I'd be curious to updates about that, Joe, too, if you want to share. And also, Rosmari, I'd be curious to hear what you think about it in general. But I see Joe's unmuted here. So, Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, we used it quite a bit. We definitely utilized it. It worked well. The hackathon thing utilized it really well. Yeah, it works well. You know, I think the wax one is definitely better than the EOS because, you know, it was made after and it had all the dates and everything working properly. So yeah, no, it's I think it's a good tool to do consensus with, definitely.
So how many people used it? What percentage of your organization actually, don't mean just voted on it, actually put stuff in there?
Well, I mean, that's the thing with it a little bit, right? I mean, it's it can be I mean, it costs a little bit, right? So it's kind of preventative, but that makes sense because you just don't want people putting random stuff on there for free, right? And spamming it out. But it's also like if it's not super important, you know, then it's not getting added. So as far as who used it, very limited, very limited.
Yeah. So
You
there's
know,
two
people.
things. There's the idea of a leader getting it and using it, and then convincing people go in there and vote. So that's one. That's the hard thing because somebody's doing most of the work, taking most of that away. You get people to do it. To get people to use it more is even more difficult, and it really comes from a strong leader like yourself, along with that culture and making it clear and compelling and as easy as possible. I mean, I got a whole, and Dan can vouch for this, I got a whole bunch of older generation people using Zoom, many of them who swore they would never use Zoom in their life, and they became Zoom enthusiasts and use it for those things. So I'm not saying you can't do it. I did it and you did it. I'm just saying it's challenging. So as we make those changes, you just need to take that into consideration. If you're going to make this change, you have to have the plans to back it up, and we can help people do that.
Great points. Oh, go ahead, Joe. I don't mean to interrupt you. Is this something you want to add
there? I was just agreeing. I was just agreeing with Eric, and you know, it's difficult to get people to use technology that they're uncomfortable with. You know, and Zoom is one step, right? And that's that, like, you know, to get, it's like one step at a time, right? Those people have no idea what a wallet is and signing a transaction and all these kind of steps that, you know, are important for the blockchain technology and keeping that ledger and recording all of this stuff. So there are steps to it, right? You got to kind of ease people in. So I kind of like what you guys have done with the whole, you know, consensus stuff. There are different ways around it as well. I like the apps, you know, so I think I think it's good. I think it's good. The whole blockchain thing, it can be tough, right? It's great for blockchain people, but for, like Eric's talking about, if you're trying to get a bunch of people who were resistant to Zoom to have them all of a sudden jump into this blockchain consensus method is maybe not you know, the easiest ask, right? You know, it's like, oh man, so it's like one step at a time. But I think that'll change over time. I think as more people understand what blockchain is and how useful it can be, et cetera, I think, you know, most people will have a wallet. I think you working with the Optimism stuff and you know, Wax Wallet or EOS is a little far out of people's lexicon, you know, where I feel like MetaMask has really entered just kind of mainstream better, and it grabs a wider audience. So, you know, it's easier to get people to understand that and be, oh, I know what that is, and yeah, okay, and da da da. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter of time thing, but yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, it's not just technology. It's any change where people have to either think and or act differently. They have to change how they think or how they do. It's hard, and when you throw technology, it's even harder. But yeah, getting people to make changes that even have nothing to do with technology is challenging.
Yeah, so and that kind of goes back to the initial topic of a post about collaborating with Optimism and Optimism Fractal. And thanks so much, Rosmari, for giving a summary of what we're discussing here, and welcome Abraham. Abraham, I think probably most people aren't familiar with Abraham yet here, but Abraham, we actually met him at Optimism Fractal, and he's a builder and developer and all around awesome guy. It's been a pleasure getting to know him for the past couple months at Optimism Fractal. So thanks so much for joining, and really appreciate you joining us here at Eden Fractal. And we're happy to hear from you if you like introducing yourself, sharing over your thoughts about Optimism Fractal as you're fairly new to the whole fractals and consensus game. So would be curious to hear what you think about it. If you'd like, or if you want to listen in and think about it a little bit more, then feel free as well. But wanted to welcome you and thanks, and appreciate you joining very much.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Dan. I'm trying to get this light out so you guys can actually see me.
You got a laser going in.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why it's laser beams today. But yeah, I think that I can see the point of what you guys are talking about, and I kind of sit somewhere in the middle, I think, where it's like I think that there's such a deficit right now of the ability to agree on things in a sort of equal way, that I think there is going to be some excitement about like a consensus concept, and you know, just bringing it into UI experience that we can give to people who aren't familiar with Zoom, and be able to like say, okay, well, you really just need to click this button, or that kind of thing. I think that's coming. That's in the future. But my experience so far has been, it's just the whole conceptual framework of it is simple, but it's beautiful. It's like a really, really neat way to foster excitement about about just all working towards one goal. I work on and have worked on Scrum teams for close to 15 years, and I think a lot of times getting people excited about something is really hard, especially something that it's somebody else's dream that they're building, basically. So I feel like this is much more. It's easier to get buy-in. It's easier to get engagement, and it's a cool way to kind of confirm that, because you're not gonna all of a sudden come back later and say, oh well, I kind of didn't agree to that. But actually it's on chain. So like, you can actually like, yeah, we all did agree on it. And yeah, there's nuance to everything. But I think that that really fostering that community of respect and of mutual consensus is really powerful. And I think I really see some legs on it. I think it's going to go a long way.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Abraham. That's it's really great to hear, and I'm glad you've been enjoying it so much and see such potential in it. And I do too, of course. And Rosemary's given the heart, and I think that's why we're all here too. And you put in words that I hadn't thought about before, but I agree with everything you said there. So very well said. And all right. Well, I guess we have about 15 minutes left or so for the scheduled time. Curious, we haven't heard much from Rosmari or haven't heard from Vlad yet. Or if anyone else wants to share more, then feel free. Another thing that I could mention too, there's some really interesting stuff that Eric brought up before. And I could also comment on that too. So maybe I could just leave a bit of space if Abraham or anybody else wants to add more. Otherwise, I can go ahead and maybe I think maybe I can tie it into the previous conversation as well, and see about how it can help us formulate our next steps to bring this consensus games and respectful fostering and collaboration to all communities and organizations like we're aiming to do.
Okay.
Okay, is that we heard a bit from Rosemarie? Good point, Rosemarie. Well, I'd be very interested to hear from you in more detail, of course, as well as everybody else here too, of course. Yeah, but one of the things I'm wondering is, so people like Abraham, for example. Abraham is like very technically oriented and builds great stuff, and so there's a question about like our vision that we define from Eden Fractal is how can we, or our vision is that all organizations and communities should have the tools and methods available to make the best decision making possible, and we want to make it fair, fast, and fun for people to make decisions together. And like Abraham was saying, like we want to make it so that we have buy-in. So it's not just people working for somebody else doing whatever somebody else says, but that the community is like free to like or community organization is free to choose what they want to do, vote on chain, and do it in like in a democratic and legitimate way where everybody feels where it's fair, and also make it easy and make it fun too, where everybody's having a good time while doing it. And so like what we're trying to do at Eden Fractal, one of the things we're trying to do is form our mission, as Eric was saying before. And if it's helpful, I could bring that up on the screen. There's several mission kind of proposals and suggestions, and we're also trying to form our strategy basically for how to arrive at that vision where all communities and organizations have the best possible tools and methods to make these decisions, like playing these consensus games like the Respect game or whatever else we build or that is available that people can use helpful tools and methods to improve decision making, basically. And so we're talking a little bit about how there's a challenge in, most people don't know a blockchain, don't really know what it is. MetaMask is getting more popular, but it's still pretty niche. And I think it's going to get a lot more popular, but it's still, like Eric was saying, a lot of older people have struggles with just using Zoom and stuff like that. So one of the reasons why I thought this might be helpful is like we're trying to figure out, and we're also trying to figure out on an individual, like how can we sustain it and grow it to get it to the point where all organizations and communities can use, because I think we all believe that this could be a model for everybody to use it, but we have to be strategic in forming our mission to figure out how's the best way to get there in that long-term vision. And so does it make the most sense to focus mostly on, say, communities that are already familiar with like blockchain and Zoom and all these things for the short term, so that like there won't be so much education needed, but there's also, like as Eric's been saying, there's huge opportunities for communities all around the world, older people or people who just aren't familiar with blockchain, or like huge nonprofits, huge businesses and stuff like that. Um, like that they might not be as easy to teach, or may not be easy to learn it, but there's also more potential there. So yeah, I just figured it might be helpful just to kind of like reframe and put this question out there. Curious to hear any thoughts about this, or if you have any other thoughts that came to mind in general about, like, does anybody have any thoughts about what is the best strategy in the near term future? Is it, say, like I see an opportunity with Optimism because there's a lot of funding there and a lot of great people, a lot of great builders who know how to use this stuff already. So there's not so much education needed. But then at the same time, that could potentially be a stepping stone. Like obviously it's great, so I want to help it in as an ends to it itself, help Optimism. But then perhaps that can also help us bring it to the entire world as well. Or are there some other ways? Maybe we should move in different directions at the same time and do things in parallel. Or maybe we should focus on some other opportunity instead of Optimism at Eden Fractal, and Optimism Fractal focusing more on Optimism. Just throwing out some ideas here. Curious, and also I know Joe, we haven't heard much updates about the Upland Fractal, so I'm curious how it's going in general, and if there's anything like as a founder of Fractal who's helping people make these decisions with these tools, if like there's anything that would be helpful for you, like that Eden Fractal could do to help serve that purpose and help you with that. Or Eric, I know you have a lot of experience with the Art Fractal. If there's anything Eden Fractal could do to help you serve that, or you're working with nonprofits, or um, Vlad's also founder of Alien Worlds Fractal too. So curious if there's anything you could help Vlad. Abraham, I'm curious if, yeah, I know you're active in local communities. Curious if there's anything we could help you to do where Eden Fractal could serve, Rosmari as well. So maybe I'll stop talking there because I said a lot there, but very curious to everybody's thoughts. And yeah, I'll leave it there if you want to respond to any of those questions or anything anybody else has on their mind.
I know just off the top of my head, I think that so I work with several different communities. One of them is in Pakistan. I try to serve people who are undereducated, uneducated, and try to help them get education and find upward mobility. And of course, trying to apply something like this would be difficult. It would require a decent amount of training, I think. But I think the idea of it is very powerful, and maybe it can be done in a, maybe not with all the technology at first. We can just kind of like somehow, support it as a system, even with like cards and just somebody to teach people, and it could be really powerful. And then bring in maybe one person who's actually the technical person who does the registering, and somehow like allow one device to be able to do multiple things. That could be a thing. But I also think that I was just looking at, I've been actually kind of really into the Farcaster community, and become active there and doing some research on how to create frames and stuff. And I suspect that it could be an interesting case to integrate some fractal consensus with, with a frame. It would probably have to be like a almost like a sidecar, like you'd have a Zoom, and then you'd also have you'd all be using a single a frame in your feed or something like that. But that could be very interesting as well. So I think there's a possibility of maybe branching out in that direction. I'm certainly looking into how to develop in frames and kind of researching what the nuances are and seeing what all the tools are right now. My intention is to build something at some point in the near future.
Fascinating. Thank you for sharing, Abraham. Yeah, I've been looking into frames too. I have a project that, so maybe we can discuss that more afterwards and collaborate too. If anybody isn't familiar with Farcaster, Farcaster.xyz and Warpcast, it's a really interesting app with lots of great stuff going on in Web3 and all sorts of stuff. I think it's gonna be a big social media app, and it already is quite popular. And then also regarding local communities and working with Pakistan, well, one, that seems like just great work you're doing. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for sharing. And then it reminded me a little bit of Nuno as well. Nuno joined Eden Fractal a few weeks ago, and he's also been joining several Optimism Fractal meetings. And he said he tested out the Respect game with the Chilli Bangs community in Portugal. In a live event, they host like weekly or monthly events, something like that. And he tried it out, and he said it was like really surprisingly fun and fruitful, and people really enjoyed it. So I'd really love to see this game be played in these kinds of consensus more in physical spaces too. So great suggestion there. And that's something to think about how you said we could do that using a pen and paper. Yeah, that's right. I saw both Rosemary and Abraham unmuted there. So I'll stop talking and curious your thoughts.
I was just gonna say, yes, Nuno was using pen and paper. And this is the way that the game can be it's highly composable, so depending on the level of knowledge and different aspects, the respect game and in general the social games can be popularized. I think there will be a lot of mouth-to-mouth promotion, just people telling about ways that they can reach consensus in a more efficient manner. And I think it will be really game changing for society if they can, if the society can take decisions in such an elegant and decentralized way. But yes, I agree. It is important to think about how to go about it, and who to focus on first. And we probably need some work done, like in a Notion page or something, somewhere that we can maybe collaborate or share our thoughts, which will be useful, as well as discuss it in events. But I just think it's kind of a very complex subject to maybe come up with an answer by just with events. Maybe for such complex topics, we can use like a dual approach where we combine with some exercise, like weekly exercise or some form of collaboration of events, like being just in our own. Because for me, sometimes thoughts come up in random occasions where I, for example, I'm going out for a walk or something like that. And yes, having a place where we can just brainstorm and each to have our own section or little sub page in a common page in Notion, for example, then that would probably help. And then we can discuss our ideas when we meet, something like that. I think is a good way to go about complex topics and such as like strategy, mission, and so forth. But great discussion so far. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosmari. Really good points. Yeah, so yeah, for one thing, this meeting, we're about 5 minutes from up the hour, so we should probably start wrapping up pretty soon. Still curious, and I'm happy to stick around for a bit longer if any has more thoughts you want to get into. But yeah, so this is just kind of intended to be like a first brainstorming session. We don't necessarily need to decide, but I figured it might be helpful. I mean, we've already been brainstorming about our strategy and mission and so forth, but these things do tend to take some time to think about, and I figured that this was just kind of another way to look at it in terms of which communities can we collaborate with first and so forth. And then, yeah, I agree, having asynchronous things are really helpful in addition to having the meetings. So we have the Notion page for both Eden Fractal and Optimism Fractal that we're building. Everybody's welcome to collaborate and just write their thoughts there in general. If you're not yet on those pages, then feel free and I can send you the invite, and eventually we can get that in a more decentralized manner too. And then Farcaster can also be a great way to do it. I know you've been using that more, Rosmari, and Vlad just shared a comment that that's interesting, but I see you unmuted, Rosmari, if you wanted to add something.
Yes, just to add that maybe would be good to tell to educate communities to get some form of a community page that, you know, and the benefits around it, like we've been doing, for example.
Yep, I agree. And that was part of the original white paper for Fractally too. Vlad was bringing that up a lot recently, where a lot of these consent schemes come from, and the original idea of fractal governance and so forth was from the Fractally white paper, fractally.com, innovators like Dan Larimer, and the idea was that there'd be a social media component as well. And Dan Larimer's team built Hive and Steam, which are the first decentralized social media apps where people could earn by making posts. And that's a really cool idea. And so if there's some incentive where people can make a post there, and then not only, well, I mean, for one, they could just get their ideas out and collaborate, because people love to do that, and that's a great way to do it on your phone when you're out or something like that. But then also people have incentive where they can earn respect or potentially earn some rewards by making good posts, and I think that's now possible on Farcaster with the openness. And I see Abraham is liking that idea. And I saw Vlad also. I don't know if you want to mention it, Vlad. We haven't heard from you yet, so feel free if you want. We'd be happy to hear from you before we wrap up. But Vlad was saying interesting idea from Abraham about using frames, and that voting and contributions and submissions could be integrated directly into Farcaster Frames, and video meetings aren't actually necessary for the process to work. So yeah, the more we can make it asynchronous in addition to the synchronous meetings, I think that would be really valuable. Okay, cool. Well, we're about 2 minutes off the hour. We could wrap it up now if y'all would like. I see Rosmari shaking her head yes. Curious too if anybody has any last thoughts. Eric contributed a lot to the discussion, so curious if you wanted to share anything else in summary, Eric or Joe or Vlad or Abraham or Rosmari, anybody. Should we just wrap it up now, or anybody have anything else you want to share before we wrap it up? Looks like we're good. Although Eric is up. Here's Eric on mute.
No, I'm good. And if you want to Zoom after this, you mentioned that I'm open.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, great. Well, yeah, thanks everybody so much for the awesome discussion. This has been really exciting. Really appreciate everybody joining. Great to see you again, Joe. Hope that everything has been well for you. And thanks so much to Abraham for joining Eden Fractal for the first time. Hope that you enjoyed it. It looks like you did, had a good time. So thanks so much. Thanks, Vlad, for joining. As always, Vlad is doing amazing work. And thank you, Eric, as always, too. Really appreciate it. Big shout out to everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'm really excited for our future discussions. I think we're on a really good path to help all communities and organizations make the best decisions possible. And so looking forward to our future discussions. We'll meet for this, keep discussing topics like this, and everybody's welcome to make proposals in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat, as well as in Consortium. But if you want to just put a topic that you want to discuss in the Telegram chat, then feel free, and we can discuss that in future meetings. And yeah, I think discussing more about this, about how we can build our strategy and mission to help all communities and organizations make decisions, that would be really exciting. And everybody's also welcome to join Optimism Fractal meetings too, every Monday at 17 UTC. Encourage everyone to join. It's a great place to meet optimism and to meet optimistics, to meet people, to meet talented innovators, and help collaborate with these communities, and encourage everybody to join all the different Fractal communities that where people are experimenting with these too. So thanks everybody so much for the great discussion.
And I did post all those links that Rosmari wanted on the live chat, and we are doing a decentralized governance trivia challenge at 1 Pacific.
Okay, excellent. Thanks so much, Eric. I'm not totally sure where you posted that. Is that in the live chat maybe? Or yeah, but I see Eden Fractal live chat, and Rosmari just shared the link to the Telegram chat, t.me/Eden Fractal. And then if you go to the live chat, Eric shared several videos he made with Startup San Diego, and yeah, you can see Eric do cool interviews, and I think learn about some of the nonprofits he's created over here too. So I'm looking forward to watching these videos. Thank you so much for sharing these. And then that event is coming up in a few hours in the Interplanetary Unconference Telegram group, if I'm not mistaken. So feel free to share that as well. I enjoyed joining that a few weeks ago. Okay, well, I think we're good to wrap it up then. Thanks everybody so much for joining. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Hope everybody has an awesome time. I suppose we can wrap it up on a go Eden Fractal. I can count down 4 in 3, 2, 1. Go Eden Fractal. Woohoo! All right. Thanks, all. See you.
Thank you.